First Contact's Folly. Supreme Strategist Kylara Ven stood before the Zetharian High Council's curved obsidian table, her iridescent scales shifting from deep purple to azure as she projected confidence. The council chamber, carved from a single asteroid, housed the 12 most powerful beings in the Zetharian Empire. Their biomechanical eyes tracked her every movement as she delivered her proposal. Earth represents the perfect expansion opportunity, she declared, manipulating the holographic display with practiced grace. Their civilization has achieved spaceflight, but remains confined to their solar system. They possess nuclear capabilities but lack unified planetary defense. Most importantly, their world contains vast deposits of quantum crystalline formations, essential for our hyperspace drives. High Counselor Draz, his ancient scales a weathered gray, leaned forward. Your assessment seems thorough, Strategist Ven. Yet I note concerning patterns in their historical data. Kylara fought to maintain her composure. She had anticipated resistance from Draz, known for his cautious approach to expansion. Their history of internal conflict merely proves their technological inferiority, High Counselor. They waste resources fighting among themselves rather than advancing their civilization. That is not my concern, Draz countered, pulling up his own holographic display. Observe their rate of technological advancement, from primitive flight to lunar landing in mere decades, from basic computing to global information networks in less than a century. This acceleration curve is unprecedented. Kylara dismissed his concerns with a practiced wave. All the more reason to act now, before they advance further. Our current technological advantage is insurmountable. One planetary assault fleet will be sufficient. The council chamber erupted in discussion, biomechanical interfaces flickering as council members accessed data streams and shared opinions through their neural networks. Kylara waited, knowing the economic pressure for expansion would work in her favor. High Counselor Mira, her scales shimmering with youth, spoke next. The quantum crystalline deposits alone justify the resource expenditure, and humans appear to lack the unified response capabilities to resist a properly executed invasion. I move to approve Strategist Ven's proposal. The vote passed with a comfortable margin. Only Draz and 2 others opposed. Kylara accepted the council's authorization with a respectful bow, already planning the invasion fleet's composition in her mind. One final warning. Strategist, Draz called as she turned to leave. Your data suggests humans excel at asymmetric warfare and innovative thinking under pressure. Do not assume technological superiority guarantees victory. Kylara acknowledged his warning with another bow, but internally dismissed it. The humans' primitive projectile weapons and chemical explosives would be useless against Zetharian shield technology. Their nuclear weapons would be neutralized before they could launch. Their scattered military forces would be isolated and eliminated with precision. 3 months later, as the invasion fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, Kylara stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Dominion, admiring the elegant efficiency of her plan. The fleet's arrival would be humanity's first contact with alien life. Their last hope would be immediate surrender. The first sign that something was wrong came when the fleet's long-range sensors detected unusual activity in Earth's orbit, where their intelligence had shown a cluttered mess of primitive satellites and space debris. They now found organized patterns, defensive platforms, early warning systems, and something else, energy signatures that shouldn't have been possible with Earth's known level of technology. Strategist Ven, her sensor officer called, confusion evident in his tone. We're detecting quantum communication signals between their orbital installations, but our intelligence indicated they had no quantum technology. Kylara's scales shifted to a troubled amber. Impossible. Scan again. They must be natural quantum fluctuations. Before the officer could respond, hundreds of small craft emerged from concealed positions around Earth's moon. They moved with impossible acceleration, using drive signatures that resembled Zetharian technology, but with modifications the fleet's computers couldn't identify. Multiple incoming transmissions, the communications officer announced. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, including—" He paused, his scales paling. "Including our encrypted command channels." A human voice, speaking perfect Zetharian, filled the bridge. "Attention, Zetharian invasion fleet. This is Admiral Helena Chen of the Earth Defense Force. We've been expecting you. The technology you're detecting was reverse engineered from the scout ship you lost in the Kuiper Belt last year. The one you assumed was destroyed by a mechanical failure. We've had 3 months to prepare for this moment. I suggest you consider your next actions very carefully." Kilara's scales drained to pale white as she remembered High Counselor Draz's warning about human innovation under pressure. She had made a terrible miscalculation. The greatest military disaster in Zetharian history was about to begin, and humanity hadn't fired a single shot yet. The silent response. 3 months earlier. Dr. Sarah Martinez stared at the twisted alien metal spread across her laboratory table at the Unified Space Research Facility, buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The wreckage had arrived under the tightest security measures ever implemented, not to keep people out, but to prevent any signals from leaking in or out. "The quantum signature is unmistakable," she explained to the assembled world leaders on the secure quantum encrypted feed. "This isn't some random space debris. This is an advanced scout ship, and its mission was to assess Earth for invasion." President Chen of the newly formed Pacific Alliance leaned forward in her virtual feed. "How can you be certain?" Sarah pulled up a holographic display. Technology they'd already reverse-engineered from the ship's damaged but functional systems. The ship's data core contained detailed scans of our military installations, power grids, and communication networks. But here's the critical part. Their scans are already outdated. They don't know about the Canterbury Array. The Canterbury Array, a quantum computing facility hidden in the Australian outback, had come online just 2 weeks after the alien scout ship's last scan. It was humanity's greatest technological leap forward, and the aliens had missed it completely. General Ibrahim Rahman of the African Union Defense Force spoke next. "How long until they realize their scout ship is missing?" "Based on their communication protocols, we estimate 3 months," Sarah replied. "That's how long we have to prepare." The European Union's Chancellor Wagner rubbed his temples. 3 months to prepare for an invasion by an advanced alien civilization. It's impossible. "With respect, Chancellor," Sarah countered, "impossible is what humans do best. We've already cracked their basic encryption. Their technology is advanced, but it's predictable. They rely on established patterns, proven solutions. We're seeing no evidence of the kind of radical innovation that characterizes human scientific advancement." "Dr. Martinez is right," Admiral Chen interjected. "We need to maintain the appearance of business as usual. Let them think we're still divided and technologically primitive. Meanwhile, we execute Project Hydra." Project Hydra was already underway. While the world's media focused on political tensions and regional conflicts, carefully orchestrated theatrics, humanity's best minds were working together in secret facilities across the globe. The alien scout ship had provided them with more than just technology. It had given them a blueprint for their enemies' weaknesses. In an underground facility beneath the Sahara, Dr. Yuki Tanaka led a team developing hybrid weapons that combined human ingenuity with alien tech. "Their shields are calibrated for energy weapons and high-velocity projectiles," she explained to her team. "But what about low-velocity, high-mass kinetic weapons, or biological systems? They're so reliant on their shields, they've forgotten basic physical principles." Meanwhile, in orbital shipyards disguised as communication satellites, engineers worked tirelessly to modify existing spacecraft with reverse-engineered alien technology. Each ship was a unique combination of human and alien tech, impossible to predict, impossible to counter with standard Zetharian combat protocols. The greatest challenge was maintaining secrecy. The quantum communications network, based on principles discovered in the alien wreckage, allowed Earth's leaders to coordinate without fear of interception. But keeping the massive military buildup hidden from the public required unprecedented cooperation between world governments. 2 months into the preparation, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. James Okoro, a linguist working with the alien computer systems, discovered something startling in their cultural database. They're not just predictable technologically, he reported to the Emergency Council. Their entire civilization is built on rigid hierarchies and absolute certainty. They literally cannot conceive of defeat by a lesser species. This isn't just arrogance. It's a cultural blind spot we can exploit. Admiral Chen immediately grasped the implications. We don't just need to fight them. We need to shatter their assumptions about us. Every victory we achieve will damage their morale exponentially. As the predicted invasion date approached, humanity was ready. Stealth satellites carried quantum-enhanced sensors. Hidden bases housed hybrid weapons. The new Earth Defense Force combined military units from every nation, trained in tactics that would seem chaotic and irrational to the orderly Zetharian mind. But their greatest weapon was one the Zetharians couldn't even imagine: the ability to improvise, to think creatively under pressure, to turn an enemy's strength into a weakness. When the Zetharian fleet finally arrived, they expected to find a primitive, divided world ripe for conquest. Instead, they found humanity waiting with 3 months of preparation, advanced hybrid technology, and an intimate understanding of their enemy's weaknesses. As Admiral Chen delivered her warning to the alien fleet, Dr. Martinez watched from the command center beneath the Rockies. "Should we show them the rest of our surprises?" she asked with a slight smile. "Not yet," Admiral Chen replied. "Let's see how they respond to the impossible first." In orbit, the Zetharian fleet hung motionless, facing a choice they had never expected to make: retreat and face shame, or advance and face an enemy who had turned their own technology against them. Either way, their assumptions about humanity lay in ruins, and the real battle hadn't even begun. Innovation under fire. Strategist Kylara Ven had never experienced failure. Now, watching her carefully planned invasion crumble, she faced an impossible choice. Her fleet hung in space above Earth, confronted by weapons and technology that shouldn't exist. Her scales shifted through colors of distress as she considered her options. "Launch the first wave," she finally ordered. "Show these humans the full might of the Zetharian Empire." The response came instantly, not from her fleet, but from Earth. Thousands of tiny objects suddenly appeared around her ships, emerging from what sensors identified as micro-wormholes, another technology humans shouldn't have possessed. Each object was barely larger than a human hand. "Scanning," her science officer reported. "They appear to be primitive projectile weapons. Metallic slugs with no power source. No threat to our shields." Kilara's relief lasted exactly 2 seconds. Then the slugs activated. They didn't try to penetrate the shields directly. Instead, they created a complex interference pattern, setting up harmonic resonances that made the shields vibrate at their fundamental frequency. "Shields are destabilizing," the defense officer shouted. "They're using our own shield frequency against us." Dr. Sarah Martinez watched from Earth's command center as the first phase of their attack unfolded. "The quantum resonance cascade is working perfectly," she reported. "Their shields are tuned to stop energy weapons and high-velocity impacts. They never considered someone might use their own shield harmonics as a weapon." Admiral Chen nodded. "Launch Phase 2. The seemingly primitive slugs suddenly accelerated, but not toward the Zetharian ships. Instead, they formed a complex 3-dimensional grid around the alien fleet. Each slug began emitting a precise quantum signal, creating a mesh of interlocking fields. "They're trapping us in a quantum cage." Kylara realized too late. Her fleet's hyperspace drives went dark. Their advanced weapons powered down. The humans had turned space itself against them. But humanity wasn't finished. From Earth's surface, enormous railguns, primitive by Zetharian standards, launched their payloads. Not explosive shells or energy weapons, but containers filled with a specially engineered bacterial strain, Dr. Yuki Tanaka's creation, microorganisms that fed on the exact type of energy the Zetharian ships produced. Impossible, Kylara whispered as the bacteria began eating through her ship's power systems. The more energy they used to fight the infection, the faster it spread. It was elegant, brutal, and completely outside their combat doctrine. The Zetharian response was predictable. They launched their ground forces. If they couldn't win in space, they would take Earth's cities directly. Thousands of dropships descended through the atmosphere, carrying the Empire's finest warriors. They never reached the ground. Earth's atmosphere itself had been seeded with microscopic drones, another hybrid of human and alien tech. As the dropships fell, the drones swarmed them, not attacking directly but interfering with their navigation systems. Proud Zetharian warriors found themselves landing miles from their intended targets, in prepared kill zones. General Ibrahim Rahman coordinated the ground defense from his mobile command center. "Remember your training," he told his multinational force. "Don't fight them the way they expect. Use their expectations against them." The Zetharian ground forces, emerging from their scattered dropships, found themselves facing tactics they had never encountered. Human soldiers used reverse-engineered cloaking technology not to hide, but to appear as multiple targets. Their weapons seemed primitive until they bypassed Zetharian armor using principles the aliens had abandoned centuries ago. Dr. James Okoro's cultural insights proved invaluable. The Zetharian military relied on strict hierarchies and pre-planned responses. When faced with human forces that seemed to operate chaotically, but were actually coordinating in ways the aliens couldn't understand, their entire command structure began to break down. "Status report," Admiral Chen demanded. "The quantum cage is holding," Dr. Martins replied. "Their fleet is trapped and powerless. Ground forces are in disarray. We've achieved approximately 60% of projected objectives with minimal casualties. And the civilian population, safe in the underground shelters. The enemy still thinks our cities are inhabited. They don't realize those are holographic projections they're trying to capture." In orbit, strategist Ven watched her invasion force collapse. Humans had taken everything the Zetharians considered advanced technology and turned it sideways, combining it with primitive methods to create entirely new weapons and tactics. They didn't fight like any species the Empire had encountered because they didn't think like any species the Empire had encountered. Strategist, her second-in-command, ventured, "We still have the automated Devastator platforms. They're designed to cleanse planets of all life. If we can't have this world—" "No," Kylara interrupted. "Look at what they've done with just one captured scout ship. If we escalate to planet killers, what do you think they'll do with the technology from an entire invasion fleet?" She opened a channel to Earth's command center. "Admiral Chen, I request terms for surrender." On Earth, Admiral Chen shared a look with her team. Phase 1 of humanity's emergence onto the galactic stage had succeeded beyond their expectations. Phase 2, using the captured Zetharian fleet to ensure humanity's future security, could now begin. "Terms are being transmitted," she replied. "Welcome to a universe where humanity has a say in what happens next." The counterattack. High Counselor Draz stared at the quantum-encrypted transmission in stunned silence. The Eternal Dominion, pride of the Zetharian fleet, hung powerless in Earth's orbit. Not destroyed. That would have been almost preferable. But defeated by technologies that shouldn't have existed, tactics that defied military logic. "Play it again," he commanded. Strategist Kylara Ven's image appeared once more, her scales a muted gray of submission. "The humans have defeated our fleet using hybrid technologies we cannot counter. They offer terms that are—" She paused, surprisingly merciful. "They request diplomatic recognition, technological exchange, and guaranteed non-aggression. In return, they will release our ships and crews." Before Draz could respond, the quantum network erupted with urgent alerts. Across Zetharian space, their supposedly unbreakable encryption was failing. Human quantum algorithms, far more sophisticated than expected, had already compromised their primary communication channels. Admiral Helena Chen's voice echoed through every Zetharian command center simultaneously. This is a demonstration of human capabilities. We have no desire for war, but we will not remain isolated or vulnerable. You have one standard day to accept our terms. In the Earth Defense Force Command Center, Dr. Sarah Martinez monitored the quantum network breach. They're scrambling to contain our virus, but it's adapting faster than their systems can respond. Dr. Okoro was right. They rely too heavily on established protocols. Admiral Chen nodded. And Phase 3. Proceeding as planned. Our stealth probes have mapped their key military installations. If they refuse our terms, we can disable their entire defense network using the same techniques we used against the invasion fleet. The strategic implications were clear. In just 3 months, humanity had not only defeated an invasion, but had positioned themselves to potentially cripple an interstellar empire. The Zetharian High Council faced a choice they had never anticipated. Negotiate with a primitive species or risk losing everything. On Earth, preparation for either outcome continued. Dr. Yuki Tanaka's team had already begun integrating Zetharian technology from the captured fleet into Earth's defense systems. But they weren't simply copying. They were innovating, creating new applications the Zetharians had never imagined. Their technology is remarkable, Tanaka explained to the Global Defense Council, but it's developed along very narrow lines. They find a solution that works and stick to it. Humans ask, what if? And why not? That's our true advantage. General Raman's forces had already begun adapting the captured Zetharian ground combat equipment. Their armor is technically superior, he reported, but inflexible. We've modified it to work with human muscle memory and instinctive responses. The results are impressive. The Zetharian Empire had never faced this situation. Their technological superiority had always guaranteed victory. Now, watching their advantages dissolve under human innovation, they confronted an entirely new type of adversary. In a secure quantum conference, Earth's leaders discussed their next moves. President Chen of the Pacific Alliance spoke first. We need to be careful. We've proven we can defeat them, but we don't want to become what we're fighting against. Agreed. Admiral Chen replied. Our goal isn't conquest. It's security and advancement. The terms we've offered them leave room for cooperation, if they're wise enough to take it. Dr. James Okoro, who had continued studying Zetharian cultural databases, offered his insight. Their society values face-saying gestures. We should give them a way to accept our terms without appearing completely defeated. As the deadline approached, humanity demonstrated another trait the Zetharians hadn't expected: mercy. They released several Zetharian ships as a show of good faith, their crews unharmed and their ships undamaged. It was a calculated risk, but one that spoke volumes about human intentions. The released crews reported something that shook the Zetharian military doctrine to its core. The humans hadn't simply defeated them. They had done so while minimizing casualties and damage. They had the power to destroy, but chose restraint. In Zetharian military history, such behavior was unprecedented. High Counselor Draz, studying these reports, finally understood what he had sensed about humans from the beginning. They weren't just another species to be conquered. They represented something new in the galaxy, a civilization that combined technological innovation with ethical restraint, military power with diplomatic wisdom. With minutes remaining before the deadline, the Zetharian High Council made its decision. They would accept the humans' terms, not just because they had to, but because they were beginning to understand that humanity offered something their empire desperately needed: the ability to imagine new possibilities. As Admiral Chen received the Zetharian acceptance, she shared a knowing look with her team. This victory wasn't just about defending Earth. It was humanity's first step into a larger universe, one they would help reshape not through conquest, but through innovation, adaptation, and the uniquely human ability to turn adversaries into allies. A new galaxy. 1 year later, the new Geneva space station hung in Earth orbit like a shining symbol of change. Its design merged human aesthetics with Zetherian engineering, creating something entirely new. Inside its grand diplomatic chamber, representatives from across the galaxy gathered for an unprecedented conference. Former strategist Kylara Ven, now serving as the Zetherian ambassador to Earth, stood before the assembled delegates. Her scales shimmered with a new color pattern the humans had come to recognize as respect mixed with excitement. 1 year ago, my people thought we understood the galaxy and our place in it, she began. We were wrong. Humanity didn't just defeat our invasion. They showed us possibilities we had never imagined. The chamber's holoprojectors activated, displaying the achievements of the past year. Hybrid ships combining human innovation with alien technology. New medical treatments that merge Zetherian biotechnology with human genetic research. Quantum communication networks that connected distant worlds in ways previously thought impossible. Dr. Sarah Martinez, recently appointed as Earth's Minister of Interstellar Science, took the podium next. We've learned as much as we've taught, she said. The key wasn't proving superiority, but finding ways to combine different approaches. Human creativity works best when it has new ideas to build upon. The evidence was everywhere. The quantum resonance technology that had trapped the Zetherian fleet now powered revolutionary clean energy systems. Dr. Tanaka's bacteria had been modified to clean up space debris and repair damaged vessels. Even the military innovations had found peaceful applications in space exploration and rescue operations. Admiral Chen, watching from her command center on the reformed Eternal Dominion, reflected on how much had changed. The ship, once the pride of the Zetherian invasion fleet, now served as the flagship of the new Joint Defense Force. Its crew was a mixture of humans and Zetherians, each learning from the other's strengths. Status report, she requested. The Arcturus expedition is proceeding ahead of schedule, her XO reported. The human Zetherian engineering team has increased the ship's efficiency by 300%. They're talking about reaching the Andromeda galaxy within a decade. Perhaps the most significant changes were cultural. The rigid hierarchies of the Zetherian Empire had begun to evolve, influenced by human adaptability. Meanwhile, humanity's tendency toward division had been tempered by the perspective that came with joining a larger galactic community. Dr. James Okoro, speaking to a class of human and alien students at the new Interstellar University, put it simply, we didn't just advance technologically. We grew as a species, and we helped others grow too. The changes rippled beyond Earth, and the Zetherian Empire, other galactic civilizations, watching how humanity had handled their emergence onto the galactic stage, began reaching out. Each brought their own technologies, their own perspectives, and their own opportunities for collaboration. High Counselor Draz, in his final address before retiring, summarized the transformation. We thought we were bringing order to a primitive world. Instead, they showed us that true advancement comes not from perfecting one way of doing things, but from embracing new possibilities. President Chen, addressing the United Earth Council, emphasized the challenges ahead. We've earned our place among the stars, but with that comes responsibility. We must remember what made this possible, not just our technology or our tactics, but our humanity. Our ability to innovate, to adapt, and to see potential allies where others might see only enemies. In orbit, construction continued on the Interstellar Exchange, a massive complex where species from across the galaxy could share knowledge, technology, and culture. Its design reflected its purpose. Sections built by different species in their own styles, connected by human-designed interfaces that made the whole greater than the sum of its parts. As the diplomatic conference concluded, Ambassador Ven met privately with Admiral Chen. There are still those in the Empire who resent what happened, she admitted, who see our cooperation as weakness. There are humans who fear and distrust aliens too, Chen replied. Change is never easy. But look at what we've accomplished in just 1 year. Imagine what we can do in a century, a millennium. From the station's observation deck, they watched Earth rotate below them. Ships of various designs came and went. Human, Zetharian, and increasingly others. Each represented a connection, an opportunity, a new possibility. The Galactic Council's biggest mistake, Ven mused, was thinking they could predict how humans would react to invasion. But their biggest success was failing. She turned to Chen. You could have destroyed us. Instead, you showed us a better way. That's the thing about humans. Chen smiled. We don't just look for ways to win. We look for ways to make winning unnecessary. As night fell over Earth, lights sparkled across the planet's surface. But now they were matched by lights in orbit, stations, ships, and satellites representing humanity's first steps into a much larger universe. It was just the beginning. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly what everyone needed.